back. We're live. Fantastic. Okay, so we were just talking about when in the dating situation do you go, when do you broach the sex question?
I mean, it's all about feeling. Like, I've approached the sex conversation 10 minutes in, and I've approached it 3 dates in. Like,
Right.
There's no right time, and it's not something you force. And it's not necessarily like I want to have sex with you. It's more about talking about sex.
Okay, so you kind of raise it, yeah.
Well, it's just like, well, this is kind of like what I'm into. This is what I like to do. This is something that I find fun or I find this interesting. This is kind of like how sex is around like my persona, but it's never about like I want to have sex with you, because the second that comes on the table, then it becomes more of a directive versus a conversation.
Right.
And I think sex is more of a natural thing. I think between anybody.
Yeah.
I think it's something we're all born to do.
Yeah.
Man, woman, man, woman. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what demographic you are. Like, that is a part that'll eventually come up one way or another. And every time it's been forced, it's never really worked out. Best example I would have is like, I have one of the greatest friends in Kansas City, and like, we'll call her Tabitha for whatever reason. Beautiful girl.
Right.
And our mental chemistry is just ridiculous. And the sex is awful, but we both kind of forced the table because our mental chemistry was so great. And then we tried again because our mental chemistry was that great.
Right.
And both of us in the middle, because it was probably like a half hour in, it's like, this is ain't doing it for me. And at the same time, it was like 10 minutes in, she's like, okay, we're good. And I'm like, yes, okay. Right. Like, I was willing to give it the gung ho, but like, and we become amazing friends. Yeah. But we also kind of understand, like, we'll still cuddle on the couch, watch a movie, whatever, and like be all cute and like coupley, but yeah, like the sex just doesn't work there because we don't have that physical chemistry. Because there is mental and there's physical chemistry. Right. And there's tons of people in my life that, and it's very easy to confuse the two. Because when you have mental chemistry with somebody, you want to have both, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's also the hardest part. For me, dating is finding both. Because I can find the physical chemistry real easy. The mental chemistry, I can find it okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But finding both, it's 1 in 1,000, and then you gotta actually have like the living compatibility too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because the person that has both, they probably have no job. They literally are $20,000 in debt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like all these just problems that you're just like, look, I don't have enough to absorb that,
yeah. And so then you're into more like serious relationship stuff by then, I guess.
Well, I mean, you just kind of think about it, and once that honeymoon's over, like all that stuff comes to realization. Because I'm kind of at the realization now, like I kind of see it before the honeymoon phase even starts.
Right.
But if you get into that and you get these super deep feelings, you do have all that chemistry. You try and make it work. But then you're like, I can't, because it's literally just one person carrying the relationship.
Yeah.
And I mean, I did that with my ex-wife. I did it for 13 years. So I won't do it again because I know what carrying a relationship feels like, and I know how it ends. Because that was over after 7 years.
Oh wow.
Because for 7 years, it no longer was a group effort; it was a singular effort,
Yeah.
and none of those relationships ended well.
It's interesting. I liked what you said earlier about rejection as well, because I guess I could be putting words in your mouth. Do you think that there is an expectation on the part of, say, an attractive woman that you, as the guy, will initiate sex? And will she feel rejected if you don't, or if you don't see her that way?
Again, that's very dependent upon the person because, well, especially when it comes to like super attractive women, like people that just generally know that like they're above the herd looks wise.
Yeah.
Some of them find it super endearing that you're not.
Okay.
And then others are, as you say, kind of upset that you aren't going down that road.
Right.
And I've done both because, as I mentioned to you earlier, which I don't think was on the podcast, is I went into the dating world and like I know that the more hits you have, the more chances you have to date people. Now I'm looking for the more quality people to date, but also I am leaving out some people because I am not being the aggressor, and I'm not going to be the aggressor.
Yeah.
Now, and I think that is actually very advantageous to me, just because my personal type isn't to be the aggressor. Mine is more to be the supporter, and not like I support you by paying all the bills and stuff. By supporter, I mean I'm emotionally available and I am going to be there to help you through all the hard times versus, I am man and hear me roar. I provide the food, house, family, and you do all of the house nonsense.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, we've talked quite a lot this evening about the different roles, I think.
Well, and gender roles are just weird to me because for me, there isn't gender roles, and like me personally, like just to get into music for a second, like Joan Jett was one of my first favorite artists, right?
Oh yeah, fantastic.
Super strong, powerful rock girl, right?
Right.
Had all this vigor and just spite.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And to this day, like Power Girl rock, Power Girl anything, like Power Girl pop, Power Girl, anything where the girl is like, I am strong, hear me roar, Katy Perry roar.
Yeah.
And I'm a guy that likes Katy Perry. Sue me.
It's fabulous.
But like I still resonate with that, and I don't really think that music has to be general. That sorry, we'll cut that out. Gender specific, because I can relate with the song, even though the song is written by a woman and from a woman's perspective. I can still relate to that.
Yeah.
Anna Blue is another artist I really love, and Silent Scream.
Yeah.
It is very female based, the song, but like it's one of those things that tugs my heartstrings because her message is what resonates, not necessarily what she's saying.
Okay.
Because the song is mostly about her having this box that her partner put her into.
Right.
And that's their expectations of her.
Yeah.
But just because you have this box and this is your expectations of you, you are still your own person.
Yeah.
And the whole song is about her wanting to be her own person, but also trying to please her person that she's with. And that's why it resonates so much with me, is because, not to go back to Max White, but like, I did that for a long time.
Yeah.
And there's the reason it resonates with me is like, I had these expectations of being this prototypical man that was supposed to be, macho and this and that.
Yeah.
And I was never going to fill those roles. And I never will fill those roles.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty good at a lot of man things, but for the most part, like that machismo strong role, like that isn't my role.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I think that's really interesting for modern dating because I guess if guys don't know whether that's the expectation or not, or if they don't feel comfortable with it, but they're still trying to, fit in that box, that sounds like a recipe for disaster.
it is a recipe for disaster. The most successful dating tip I'll give anybody is find out who you are
Right.
and live and die by that. Because if you at least know who you are and you can say no, and like that's something I still mightily struggle with.
Yeah.
Because you know this is against you and not who you are. I think that is the most pivotal thing because it's going to save you one time. You're not going to go down a relationship where they think you're one person and you're not.
Yeah.
Because I don't care how good a front you put on, it's eventually going to end.
Yeah.
It may not be a year from now, maybe 10 years from now, but eventually you are not going to be able to hold up that facade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you're actually truly looking for that end all be all, you just kind of have to be you from the get go.
Yeah, that is good advice.
And like I do fail on it. I failed on it in part my last relationship, not necessarily because I wanted to, just because you get flustered and you're like, ooh, whoa. And like you don't want it to end, but and I mean I'm working on getting to that point where like, no, this should end if this is something you expect, but you can't just get rid of that overnight. Like I've tried, trust me.
Yeah.
I would love to be like, this part right here is something that's never going to happen, and we got to stop.
Yeah, yeah.
But your mind plays tricks on you.
It takes a lot of honesty, I guess, as well.
Honesty with yourself, and that's the hardest honesty. You can be honest with other people, and actually, that one comes quite easily to me.
Okay.
Honesty with myself, and I think a lot of people struggle with this.
Yeah.
Is being like, no, I'm bad at this. I am terrible at this. And thus, my current hiatus on dating is I know I have terrible decisions when it comes to women, and also I have an attraction towards damaged, strong women, which is usually a bad combo.
Right. Interesting to unpick
But
that pattern. Yeah.
I'm trying to find the strong women that aren't damaged, so I'm trying to work that out me personally.
Yeah.
And that's just a personal thing.
Yeah.
But everybody's going to have their own battle. And being honest with yourself gets you there, right?
Yeah, yeah. So would you advise people to take a break from dating now and then to reflect?
Absolutely.
Right. It's interesting.
When I moved here, I went through probably the hardest breakup of my life because I had not been broken up with before.
Right.
I just hadn't. I had dated nobody until 33. And then post then, I've had rejection, but I'd never gotten into relationship status to where I was the breaker. It was always, this isn't it for me. I can tell it's not it for me. Sorry. And the crazy thing is, like, she was quite a bit younger than me, but like maturity wise, I think she had me beat by minimum 10 years, and our dating difference was over 10 years. We'll call her Cassandra.
That's a great name.
And Cassandra, just little girl, it was never supposed to be. I didn't even figure out how old she was until like a month later, but we had good sex chemistry. Like we just slept together, and then you sleep together, and it's really good. So you start talking, and then eventually you start talking because sex is good. You start dating, and it's kind of how that works out. And she was super sage. She was super wise in a lot of ways. Like she was still super young in some ways, but for the most part, life wise, she grew up in a really good family, and I was very thankful to meet her family because her family kind of showed me what a loving family was like. Because I never really kind of experienced that.
Yeah.
And I love her family. But she was very sage in that she knew that like we weren't compatible together.
Right.
And I didn't even know when she broke up with me like why we weren't compatible.
Yeah, yeah.
I do now. I don't really want to get into that too deep. But I definitely know now, and I appreciate her wisdom. And she was the first relationship where like communication was key. Everything was very easy. There was none of this. I can't believe you said this about me. You said this about me.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful relationship that was doomed to fail.
Oh, it's a shame.
There's no awe about it actually, because there's two bright points. Is like I was taught what a relationship's supposed to look like, and because I was so heartbroken in the relationship, I moved out of town to New Orleans, where I found my home for me. So it may have been really hard, and it was. Like I had not really felt pain like that because most people deal with breakups in their teens, right?
Sure, yeah.
And I was 33 or 35. Sorry.
So it's an interesting experience. Yeah.
And kind of acted like a little kid looking back on it, but I didn't know how to experience those feelings because I hadn't felt them before.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird being that old in your life to still have that immaturity point. And it taught me a lot though, because that's why I took my year. Well, I took a year hiatus, but it took me a year and 3 months before I actually went down the road. But that's why I took that hiatus, because not dating really taught me to love myself. And like I thought I did before, but about being honest with yourself was like I really didn't. Now I most certainly do. Now I've got to figure out how to also love myself and be a responsible human being. But that's an entirely different avenue. But because when you love yourself, like you're very happy with who you are, and you lose that motivation that people are judging you. And that's a part that people don't tell you. When you love yourself, it's like, ooh, well, how do I motivate myself if I'm not doing it for other people? But it's also a beautiful thing because then you got to figure out how to motivate for just you.
Right.
And still working on that. But it's a good place to be in. And I think if you start younger than older, then great. But it's never too late to start either.
Yeah.
Because even at 38, realizing that, like, oh crap, I don't have anybody else motivating me now. It's all me. But
yeah, interesting. So, do you see a link between those sort of working out what you're looking for in a relationship and good mental health generally?
Well, from my personal standpoint, I think you need to be at a decent. I don't think you need to be perfect. I don't think you need to be great. I think you need to be at a decent headspace where you can approach dating.
Right.
I think it's the healthy way to go.
Yeah.
Because when you're dating somebody, the partner's immediate response is going to be, "How can I help you?"
Okay. Yeah.
So if you were literally in the dumps and you were not able to support yourself right now and you have an out, the human response is like, okay, well, if you just did this one thing,
Yeah, yeah.
but then you say that 20 times in a row, you're eventually taking advantage of that person, right?
Right. So you're changing what they want to do for themselves, maybe because you're giving
Yeah.
advice.
Because I 100% believe in a relationship, you need to have that support between you two. Where, hey, you're falling off this cliff, you're falling off this cliff, you got to do this.
Yeah.
But if you're not in a place emotionally, I don't feel like it's a fair trade back and forth. And when one person in the relationship is taking 100% of the other person's effort and you're giving nothing back because you have nothing to give because you're emotionally unable,
Yeah.
it's not healthy. And I'm usually on the opposite end of that. I've actually been fairly mentally healthy in a lot of my previous relationships. But I've tried to carry that, and I've also come to realize that's why I've been the breaker of many, is that I'm carrying a full relationship on my back. And that's a hard place to be in. And you can't do it.
Yeah.
Because it eventually will lead to you being exhausted.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't sound good. I'm wondering about like if people find that they're sort of codependent and maybe, you might have experienced that if the other person was like needing you.
Well, codependency is a weird word because I think some codependency is okay.
Right.
I think having trust in your partner that if something goes wrong, it's okay. I think something went wrong, your immediate response is to go to your partner. I think that is a problem.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just my lack of understanding of codependency, but
no, I think that's true because if you're not self-sufficient as an individual, you might lose yourself in a relationship.
Exactly. But also you need to have that trust in a relationship and that respect too. That if something goes wrong, I know they got my back and I know they're gonna handle it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that one's the one that you gotta worry about because they might have your back, but are they gonna be able to handle it?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Interesting. I guess I'm kind of wondering what people have relationships for these days. If the roles are changing to the point where, traditional man is not what's required, maybe, not for everybody.
I mean, for me, the only reason to have a relationship is that, like, there's a bond there that you can't ignore.
Right.
If you don't have that, I don't really see the point. Because, I mean, there's a lot of people that have professional relationships for business, whatever.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people out there that have relationships because this person provides and I provide in an entirely different way. Me personally, I am only looking for a relationship where I have a bond that all you do is make my life better.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to lower some points because everybody does. But overall, like, you're just making my life better. So that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't achieve that, I don't really care. Not for lack of anything else. I am happy with my life. Like, if you don't provide something cool and something fun and just like something exciting, something to my life, like, I'm not willing to put the type of energy that I normally put into a relationship into somebody anymore.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good way to be, I think. Yeah.
Took me a long way to be there, and like I'm still working on it because my last one I thought I was there, but it challenged me in a lot of ways.
Right. Yeah.
Because I had everything in my head, everything on paper, what I wasn't going to do. Still did some of them. Set boundaries on others, but those boundaries were trampled. But
Interesting. I've been thinking a lot about boundaries lately because it feels to me like some people use the word boundaries where they're actually talking about they want to control something. So to me, if you set a boundary, you're saying if you do this, this is how I'll respond.
Well, no, that's an ultimatum.
Okay. If you set
Ultimatum, if you do this, this is what I'll do.
Okay.
That is ultimatum. That is not a boundary. A boundary is you can't do this because this affects me.
Right.
There is no if you do this. It is you can't do this. This is how it affects me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That is, and like the whole like the internet has kind of made all of this kind of convoluted, for lack of a better word, because you see all these memes about all this, and people get their own ideas of what boundaries mean. But a boundary is you can't do this because it affects me this way, and I can't support myself this way.
Yeah, yeah. So a boundary would be like a line, I guess, that you say that it's unacceptable for me.
And it's not a line in the sand. It is literally a brick wall. If you break this brick wall, you're going to have to pay for it, and I'm out of here.
Right, yeah, it's the end of the relationship. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. I've been thinking about that too. The way that the internet will have like memes and like ways of defining things that are somewhat glib, and sometimes it's just not correct as well.
Well, and like the beauty of the internet is that we have all the information at our fingertips, but some people will literally just take information in the form of, well, I want it to mean this, so it's going to mean this for me.
Right.
And that part kind of makes me struggle because, trust me, I love memes. I'm like, half my life is memes, okay? But some of them I'm just like, oh, this is really missing the point, and there's going to be a lot of people who take this to heart.
Yeah.
But that's the new responsibility of the new age, which I'm a millennial, so like I have the wherewithal to kind of differentiate, but I know that there are a lot of people that are like, no, I take this to full heart, and this is kind of, I'm going to embody myself behind said meme.
Mm-hmm.
And I've known people like that, and sometimes it just makes me sad because I'm just like, you're an individual and you have your own thoughts. And as much as I love memes, it's like memes don't define who you are. You define who you are.
That's true, yeah.
And words are just words. You can resonate with them and you can personalize them, but you can't solidify them as, I wanted to say Bible there, but maybe that'd be too far. But like they're not solid truth.
Right. So there's misinformation on the internet that people
and there's just misinterpretation.
Right. Yeah.
Because I don't even know, because most memes aren't really misinformation; they're just misinterpretation.
Okay. Yeah. It's a good distinction, I think.
Because interpretation is 9 times out of 10 the problem of all conflict.
Right.
Because somebody can say something and it'll completely piss somebody off.
Yeah.
Another person didn't even mean it the way that they took it, but that is just how it went down.
Yeah.
And for me, like, I do that a lot just because, like, I'm very jokey. I'm like, life's too short not to have fun for me. So, like, I will make a joke about anything. And occasionally I won't even think about what I just said, and then I will say it. And usually it's immediate. I just say it, and I'm like, oh dear. What did I just say out loud? And it doesn't matter how quickly you apologize, that, the interpretation that you meant that is, crazy. But, like, you just, and it's only because I've done that that I understand that, like, you kind of have to take it with a little bit of water. Right. You can't just take it down full hearty like that.
Yeah. Yeah, interpretation. I guess it's a big part of communication as well. It's not just what you've communicated, but it's how they've kind of heard that message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a huge thing in dating is most likely you both come from very different backgrounds.
Sure.
I have yet to date anybody with even a similar background of mine.
All right.
So like, I probably won't because
Yeah.
I have kind of like the unique backstory. So like, I don't really think I ever will.
Yeah.
But that also makes me very empathetic because like I've dated several different backgrounds because I'm not gonna find one of mine, and honestly, I don't really want to because like I know my past, and like the reason I'm happy with who I am is because I've seen how much I've grown.
Right. Yeah.
And if I met somebody else that grew that much from my background, like yes, I'd be like, okay, let's go grab a drink right now. They would be that chemistry person in the grocery store, and I don't know how I found out they have the same backstory. But I'm like,
Right.
man, tell me how you pick an avocado right now.
Nice. Oh, I am so in awe of people like yourself who can turn it from, oh, how do I choose an avocado, to can I have your number, or can we go out for a drink tonight?
Oh, well, see, I've only asked 2 people in my life for numbers.
Really? Wow. That's amazing. With your incredible track record. Only 2? What, they've always given it to you, the number?
Well, I've only gotten like 8 numbers.
Wow. Okay.
I'm normally like a conspirator of fate.
Yeah.
The best I do, because like I'm terrible at asking for numbers. It is, and I still have my first number in my little lockbox that I ever got.
Oh, that's lovely.
We danced to the Dirty Dancing song.
Fantastic.
What is the name of the song? You remember?
Time of My Life?
Time of My Life, yeah. We danced to Time of My Life, and
Oh, that's lovely.
I remember like it was the first number I ever asked for in my life, and at 33 nonetheless.
Wow. And she said
And-
yes.
Oh yeah, she totally gave me the number, and
Mm-hmm.
I totally took like a day and a half to call it. But I drank a lot that night. Now that was, I am surprised I had any ability to do anything that night, but that's also kind of what it takes for me to give me an ass number.
Yeah, yeah. That's cute.
The other time was just like a straight rejection, but
Oh, wow.
it was just one of those like, "Can I have a number?" And I'm like, no. I'm like, okay, see you later.
Oh, that's a bit hard.
It was literally like we talked at the bar for like 45 minutes, and really nothing personal. We just shot shit, and it was in Kansas City. You know, just out and about.
Yeah.
I was just having a drink, and it's like, "Hey, can I have your number?"
Mm.
And she's like, "No." Then she walked out the door.
Oh, wow.
That was pretty much it. It was just over. I was like,
Oh, my
"Alright,
goodness.
cool."
Well, good
But-
for you for shooting your shot. That's important.
Well, I was happy I shot my shot, but it's weird. Like I don't even have half my friends' phone numbers. I just have their Facebook. Like I'll ask somebody's
Oh, right.
Facebook before I ask for their phone number.
So I might be out of date. It might not be that you ask for phone numbers anymore. So you might just like.
Well,
get
I
their
think
social
phone numbers
media-
is still what you're supposed to ask for.
Is it?
But
I'm thinking contact.
For me, I'm just like, give me something less casual.
Mm-hmm.
That way I can kind of be well, and for me, I'm like, check out my Facebook. Like
Right.
I live a fairly exciting like lifestyle. I'm like, I'm not boring. So like you check out my Facebook, I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
you'll at least be excited, and you're not gonna be like, oh man, this dude has like 77 cat pictures back to back.
That's a good point. So maybe as part of getting to know yourself when you're dating, you become successful because you're living a full life.
Yeah, and I think the reason I'm successful is not because I go out and I'm the aggressor. I go out and I am just interesting and people want to know me.
Yeah, yeah.
And that makes me successful.
Sounds like
And
consistent.
well, and success is a weird term, but I mean, how do you quantify that? Because like I wouldn't say I'm successful because I'm not married, but I would say like getting dates and finding compatible companions. Yes, I'm successful,
Yeah.
but I'm not successful because I'm not married. But
Right. So that's the end game for you, do you think?
well, not necessarily getting married, but find somebody that like if I need to get married to this person, then be it.
Right. Yeah.
Because like I've already been married and I'm married under family pressure the prior time.
Yeah.
But like marriage is really just a piece of paper to me.
Yeah.
But if it's important to my partner, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's put it down. I'm like, I'm not afraid of that commitment part. The commitment part's not the thing.
Yeah.
It's like I gotta get there first. Because I haven't had anybody in my life, except my ex-wife, which I had just admitted was family pressure to get married.
Right.
That I'm just like, I want to marry this woman.
Yeah.
I haven't had that. I haven't had that want to get married.
Yeah.
And if I have it, I probably will do something dumb, like propose and like, and my proposal to my ex-wife was beautiful, but.
Oh, what did you do?
Oh, crikey. No, I'm going to leave us on a cliffhanger here. I think that is the perfect thing. I will tell you my proposal to my ex-wife.
Oh.
Because, like, it wasn't, like, big or lavish, but it was very heartfelt.
Nice. Okay. So we have to tune in next time to find out.
So on the podcast.
Fantastic. Well, what do you think? Do you need another drink? Do you want to pause?
We're going to pause right now.
Mm-hmm.
Give us a moment.